Hey, friends, and welcome back to the Freedom Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host and business mentor, Lindsay Sutherland. Excited to bring you another exciting guest today. Her name is Miriam Schulman. She is the founder of The Inspiration Place and the author of the Artpreneur book, which, by the way, I have to tell you, it surprised me. You sent me a copy, and I was like, okay, that's sweet. Mind you, it was just last week, I think, that you sent it. And I picked Sunday night. I finally got a chance to dig in. I've read 100 pages in 2 days.
Oh,
It's
wow. Thank you.
phenomenal. It's easy to read, but it's easy to read, but informative and helpful at the same time. It's not like just a fluffy book that, oh, that was nice. It's not like that. It is phenomenally informational packed, helpful, and easy to read. And I totally recommend it. And I'm hooked. I'm really into this book. So thank you so much for sending that copy.
Oh, you're
Also,
welcome.
I'm going to donate this. So after I'm done absorbing, there's a beautiful woman in town. Her name's Hannah, and she owns a art studio. She's one of the very first. I live here in Bonners Ferry. It's very like tiny little town. She didn't think she could open a studio, and she did, and it has totally taken off. But what I love about Hannah is that she spends a lot of time with the youth here, helping them embrace their artistry and like helping them like lean into that as a business. I'm going to give this to her and have her give it to somebody who really is going to use it to make a difference in their life. So thank you. It's going to pay it forward.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah. So please tell us about yourself. Like kick it off with just a little background of yourself. And then we're going to get deep into, the story of Miriam Schulman.
Okay.
Don't miss an episode. Subscribe to this show on whatever podcast player you prefer and follow me on Facebook and Instagram. Hey, it's Lindsay, and I want to pop in here because I know how overwhelming it can be to get started building an online business. I've even spoken with people who've paid thousands of dollars for help from people who are truly experts in this, and they're still feeling confused about what direction is right for them, or if their idea is even a good one. Listen, you don't have to guess or pray or hope or any of that. There is a way to test the market to ensure your idea is a good one so you can launch with confidence. And that's exactly what I show you in this simple 35-minute video training. I keep it simple because I know you already have so much swirling around in your brain. I'm not here to add more confusion because what you need right now is clarity. And that's what's in store for you in the short training called How to Tell If Your Idea Will Be Profitable. Access the video right now by texting the word freedom to 55444. Stop guessing and start taking strategic action. Text freedom to 55444. All right, back to the show.
Okay, so I am Miriam Schulman, and I haven't always been an artist. I swallowed the Kool-Aid that artists couldn't make a living. So I took the practical route and I went to Wall Street. I know many creatives who do that, take the practical route, including many artists that we admire. I mean, they didn't always start off as an artist. And after 9/11 happened, I knew I couldn't go back to that world. And at first, I just painted on the side. I still didn't believe I could make a living from my art until I started working for a gym who was teaching me how to market and sell personal training packages. And that's when I had my aha moment that what they were teaching me, I could use to sell anything, including my art. So that was over 20 years ago. And my art has evolved over the years. Self-representing artist for over 20 years, but I added online art classes to the mix. And last 5 years, I've been coaching other artists to monetize their creativity.
Yes, it's okay. By the way, I was really one of the other things that surprised me about is how many similarities we have in our story. Um, my background was in the car business, which is kind of similar, and it's like a male dominated type of thing. I have all these bookmarks here that I wanted to dig into. But your story was so profound. I mean, what was it? I want to hear it from you, like telling us a little bit about what it was like in Wall Street. I mean, the way that it was as a woman in that space, but also just the money hungry workaholicism of it.
Yeah, I would even say the dehumanization, which is why when people talk about AI being dehumanizing, I was like, not as bad as Wall Street, like um, so I was working in the Trade Center when it was bombed in 1993. So a lot of people either aren't old enough or just don't remember it because 9/11 really eclipsed that event. But the World Trade Center was bombed then, and I was working in Sovereign World Trade when that happened, and we were not told that the World Trade Center was bombed. We didn't have cell phones really back then. We didn't have like the internet is not what we know it today. So my girlfriend and I, we thought it was a Con Ed failure. Nobody told us otherwise. We actually walked up 37 flights of stairs to return to our desks. And when we got to our floor, we could look out the window and see, oh, wait a minute. There are helicopters circling the World Trade Center. There's smoke coming out of these windows. People are smashing the glass. What the heck is going on? So that is when we learned there was a bomb in the World Trade Center, and that is why the power had gone out. But our colleagues were all working. They were working, even though a terrorist attack was happening right next door. So when 9/11 happened, and that second tower was not evacuated,
Mm.
that was like what's the wait PTSD for
PTSD.
me. Yes,
Yeah.
because I could have been that person. I could have been that person who wasn't evacuated in the tower because people were still working, even though there was a terrorist attack going on next door. So if you talk about now, like you want work-life balance, you want to work from home, this is a culture that you work no matter what. And I still see a lot of that even today, and even some female-owned businesses, Lindsay. Like there's one influencer I follow, and I was part of her membership program for a while, and she shared her team values with us. And her number one team value is you get the work done no matter what. And when I read that, first of all, I unfollowed her and all that stuff, but never mind that. I wrote my team values. My number one team value is employees first. That's a big difference than you work no matter what.
Right. Yeah. It's true. And I just, when I was reading in the story, I'm like, man, I'm just picturing that moment where you said like everybody just kept their head down and just kept working. And then what's worse is it's like the guilt tripping of if you leave to go, I mean, you went and called your husband and thankfully like nobody really noticed or said anything, but like had you left, had you been like, what the heck, I'm leaving.
I left. I left.
Oh, you did
So
leave. Okay.
I went,
I know you walked
yeah,
down the
oh yeah.
stairs. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I walked up 37 flights of stairs because I didn't know what was going on. We thought it was a Con Ed failure. Okay, I'm young. I'm in my early 20s. I can handle walking up these stairs. It was like we had Stairmaster and step aerobics back then. So I went up those flights of stairs. But when I found out what was happening, I slipped. I went right back out the door because I
Okay.
wasn't jaded yet. I
Okay.
wasn't like jaded. Like I wasn't brainwashed to stay yet.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
I was like, no, hell, heck no, I'm out of here. So
And did
I
anybody
went
say
down the
anything?
stairs and I left.
Yeah. Did they say anything? Did they like go, hey, where are you going? Why are you out of here?
There's been other times where it was like that, where there was like a big snowstorm. I was like, oh, I'm out of here. Like,
Mm,
where are you going? I was like, home. There's kind of like an emergency in the city. It's shut down. Like, where do you think I'm going? So,
yeah. No, I related with that because even in the car business, if you had to leave, and I was going to school full time when I started, so I was juggling the two things. And it was like, oh, hey, part timer. I'm like, excuse me, I work 50 hours a week. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's that guilt tripping and that feeling of that. And you're right, it is still happening today. And I think that's what's drawing so many people from like, okay, what can I do to make money? And I love your passion to profit system. Your is it 5 Ps? Your 5 P system.
5 Ps.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
to helping people do that. And you guys listening, I just want to say, like, dig into the book. We're gonna do a brief overview today, but she does such a great job of like explaining each step so you can actually put your brain around it and take flight, my friends, because that is literally what this book will help you to do. And so tell me a little bit about kind of that journey. When did you finally decide, yeah, okay, I can make money doing art, and more importantly, like another thing you really talk about is embracing your style, your
Mm,
passion. Like how did you find that and how did you figure that part out?
yeah, there's so many things I want to say. So first of all, when I was like 22, 23, I was like, I'm leaving. As I grew up and kind of got, and I talk about this in the book, how I was groomed by the system. Like I use those words on purpose, kind of like an abuse, groomed. I wasn't leaving. I was towing the line and doing the good girl thing. It's like you get entrenched into it with those golden handcuffs, right?
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
So now we want to talk about the five P's, like jump to that or jump to inner weirdo. Like,
Hmm.
where did you want me to
I mean,
go?
I don't know. Like, I know what you're saying. First of all, I remember this. You just made me remember this time. I was recording videos in my closet at home on my spare time about how I wanted to quit my job. Like my dream was to expand. And I remember getting called into my boss's office and he brought it up and he said, just remember what you're doing. You're leading a team. Is this really what you want to be doing? And I'm like, did I do anything wrong? I mean, I did it on my personal time. And he was like, well, he couldn't tell me not to do it, but it was kind of like, you know, pull you back in. Like you're saying, like you're never
Yeah.
groomed, like you don't get to leave. And I just totally forgot that even happened to me until you just said that. It's interesting how, and I know, and I want to share that because I just know so many other people are going through that and to recognize that grooming. So when you
Yeah.
say embrace your inner weirdo, is that what helped you to kind of like cut the golden handcuffs for real, just kind of like whoosh, like what helped you make that
So
final.
what helped me was when 9/11 happened. So I was still working, but then um I was on maternity leave when 9/11 happened. And so then I decided I wasn't going to go back.
Mm,
So the 9/11, seeing my former Seven World Trade Center burned to the ground and knowing, oh, that could have been me.
mhm.
That could have been me. By the grace of God, there go I. So if I needed a sign from the universe, that was it.
Yeah.
So, and for many people, they do get those types of events happening. Something, it could be, in the New York area, that was 9/11 was something that had a big impact on us. And it did have an impact beyond the New York area. But there's been other events. Obviously, the pandemic. A lot of people walked away from their jobs during the pandemic. They called it the Great Resignation.
Yeah.
Um, so those are collective traumas that happen, but there's also individual things that happen. So you get a diagnosis. Maybe your partner's sick. Maybe um, there's a death in your family. We all have these moments where we realize that life is short, and there's nothing that's going to lift a veil from whatever's not working in your life than a crisis like the pandemic, 9/11, a death in the family diagnosis, all these types of things.
Yeah.
So many people, I'm sure, can relate to having that kind of crossing the threshold moment where they know they're not going to be able to be that same person again and go back.
Right. Yeah, that is so true. And I'm glad you put words to that because I think it helps people define that in their own life. I mean, we all know because I can remember lots of times in my life where I'm like reminded that life is short. However, it's so easy to forget that a week later and be like, oh, yeah, but I got to make money and fall back into that habit. So, really, truly walking away is not super easy. But you did it, and then you found yourself reminding yourself, like, yes, I can paint for fun. You were painting for fun there in a little while. When did you finally like discover your style?
Okay, so there's a few things here to talk about. One is finding your own style, and this is whether you're an artist or your style as a business person, and or what your personal voice is. And this is something I talk a lot to my artists, but it applies to you no matter what business you're in because we're always selling a message. It's kind of like on the surface, I sell sneakers. Like if I was Nike, I would say on the surface, I sell sneakers. But what I really do is motivate people. That's what they're selling, the just do it message. And every business has this. What is the meaning that you're actually selling. And that is the one thing that's going to set you apart from everybody else, especially given AI. So you really have to know what it is that makes you different, what makes you special, so that you're offering your thing, whether that's art, sneakers, coaching, graphic design, whatever your business is, it doesn't matter. What is it that makes your thing different than everybody else who's offering the same?
I love that. Actually, that was another thing I loved about your book is how it related to anybody, even if you're creative and you're artistic. That's what I was like realizing. I'm like, I would never have bought this book because I don't think of myself as an artist. But reading your book, I'm like, I actually am an artist. Like you showed me parts of myself that I didn't even know were there, as far as like, oh my gosh, my course creation, my coaching, my inspiration, all of that is art. And I even tell people like I'm in my creative mode or I can't do this until I get into my creative mode, but still never saw it as art. It's so interesting how you brought that into that. But and another piece that you talked about was embracing your inner weirdo. As far as like this is the piece that I think so many people need to hear from whether it is a creative outpouring of an artist style, painting, etc., whatnot, or a brand, because it is truly what can make you memorable. So can
Yes.
you like teach us how to do that? How to find
There,
our
okay. Everyone who doesn't do this is afraid of losing sales or alienating people, but there really is no money in the middle. And politicians know this. That's why we have such psychopaths. And I'm talking about both ends of the political spectrum. It's like they understand this. This is how you get people to pay attention to you. So now I'm not saying act like a psychopath. So don't misunderstand me. But the point is you can't be afraid of repelling people. What you want to do actually is to repel people because the only way you're going to find your people is to be polarizing. So if you're doing it right, you're going to have 1 to 3% of the people are going to hate you, and 1 to 3% are going to love you. But you're never going to have that 1 to 3% loving you if you're not willing to also have the haters. It just won't happen because they won't know who you are and what you stand for and what you're about. There's no money in the middle.
true. That is so true. So how can people like let's say they are first you're saying basically first be aware of the fact that you're trying to pander to too many people.
That's right.
The next step is what? Like how do they actually discover themselves? Isn't that funny? We know we live with ourselves every day, but we're like our biggest question mark. So how can people say like this is who I am and like just be that?
The truth is, Lindsay, it's really hard to do it yourself. And that's why it is helpful to have somebody, a coach, or someone help you work through it. Even if you just pay, it doesn't have to be me. Just find somebody who does this type of work where they can walk you through your origin story, not just your business origin story, but when I work with clients, I'm asking them things like their family of origin. What do they do for fun? What kinds of books do they read? And that is how we're able to pull their value system out by looking at what they read, what movies they like, what their spiritual practices are. So we can take them from something that's very bland and generic to a recent client I worked with was able to say, um, I I paint in order to pray.
Mm.
So that like changed everything. Like every painting is a prayer. That was able to change everything for her around that message. And that was the message she felt really strongly about and could get behind.
Mhm.
So being able to pull all these personal stories together and then look for what are the dots to connect. And so to have someone interview you, hopefully, if you can't invest in it, get a friend to do it and really pull out what those stories are.
And I gotta throw it in there because it actually wasn't. It happened to me. It was AI. I didn't expect that. I was one day just experimenting on Grok because it was the new thing, and I was like, we'll see how does it compare to ChatGPT. When I clicked in there, it said, "Help me." Like one of the prompts was like, "Help me develop my personal brand." So I went into it just fully. ignorant, like just letting it guide me. And it asked me a lot of those type of questions you just said, like your history, your child, what's meaningful to you, what are some key stories. And what tripped me was when it said, you should be a freedom guide, help people to experience freedom. And I'm like, no kidding. I didn't even tell it about my podcast. So it really was actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Okay, at least I know I'm like living in my lane. That was
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, that can be another resource. But I agree with you because with a coach, with somebody who's on the outside, they're going to see things in you that you're not seeing or get you to lean in farther to an area where you might not be ready or think you're ready to go, or you might think it's not relevant.
That's
Coaches know
right.
how to lean into
That's
that.
right.
So, yeah, very
Yeah,
powerful.
some things people look at me like, I don't understand how this relates to selling art. It's like, you don't have to know. Like,
That's so good. I love it. Yeah, I bet you're just a fantastic transformative coach. I mean, your background and your story is just so relevant, but then also I just love how you totally leapt. Have you ever read the book The Big Leap?
that's Gay Hendricks, or I'm thinking,
Yes, yes.
yes.
And you know
Yeah.
how he talks about like it telling people like his whole thing is like take your leap, start doing what you love first in the day and then do the rest of it later and so on. And like some people who actually wanted to do art or write would start early in the morning and then they were making strides to that. It was really I liked the way the approach was very gentle and like not. But at the same time, I think what is so powerful about your story and about your leadership style is that you literally did leap. Like you left the corporate world and then you leapt full on into painting and like yeah, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am, this is what I was born to be, and it's okay if I don't have all the answers. You just kind of figured it out as you went.
I made many mistakes,
Yeah.
which I talk about in the book. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what I help my clients do is I don't want them to make the same mistakes that I
Yeah,
did.
I love it.
And you will make mistakes too. It's kind of like if you want to do all the procrastinating learning in the world to protect yourself so you don't fail, you're never going to do it. It's kind of
Yeah,
like a baby learning to walk.
yeah,
And the
it
mom
totally.
doesn't say to the baby, just because they fall down a bunch of times, don't think this walking is for you.
I loved that quote. That was great. Well, speaking of mindset things, like you have such great mindset tips. So guys, look, in the book, at certain key intervals, she'll say like what the starving artist thought pattern is and then how to replace it. And one of the ones I wanted to talk about that was I felt very transformative for me was the part about believing in your client.
I'm glad you brought that up because what I talk about is the belief triad because we've all heard these gurus say, believe in yourself. And we're like, yeah, yeah. Believe in your product or your art. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I never heard anyone talk about believe in the client. And that third piece is so critical. And we all think, well, wait a minute, I believe in the client. No, we've all been a mean salesperson. We don't mean to be, but how many times have we not offered the most expensive thing because we thought they couldn't pay for it or wouldn't pay for it or wasn't able to? That's like being the mean salesperson in Pretty Woman who wouldn't wait on Julia Roberts when she went shopping. So we all think that we're not that person, but that's what lack of belief in your customer looks like. And the problem is when you are feeling hesitant about your buyer, even if it's because of perhaps maybe you have your own self-esteem issues, they're going to feel it and they're going to experience it not necessarily as, oh, she doesn't believe in me, but I shouldn't do this. So when you are selling something, if I'm selling to Lindsay, it doesn't matter if it's a $10,000 painting or a $10,000 coaching package. What's going through Lindsay's mind as a buyer is not, is Miriam worth it? Is her coaching package or her artwork worth it? She is wondering, am I, Lindsay, worth $10,000? Am I worth it to invest in, doesn't matter what it is, this sweater that cost more than I thought it was going to be, this artwork that the price tag's higher than I thought, this coaching experience that It is very expensive. So they're having their own issues about whether they think they're worth it. And if you are acting in a transactional way, thinking it's making it about the price, making it about yourself, when they're not thinking about you, your worth, or the worth of your thing, they're thinking about themselves, you're making the wrong argument. So that's why inside my book Artpreneur, I include, and I don't think you've gotten there yet, but there is an overcoming objections chart. So I walk you through, yeah, it's on page 188. I walk you through common objections. And then what I do is help you get compassionate about what your customer might be thinking or feeling so
Mm,
that you're able to reach them. And yes, I give you like a script, but it's really the piece that's the most important is understanding and having that empathy for your customer about what's truly going through their mind.
right. Which I think, and I do a lot of copywriting, website design, social media marketing, that kind of thing. And it just flips the script on how, instead of it being all about me and or any of my clients or whatever, it's more like this is what, not just why do you need this, but like what it totally make I guess what I'm trying to say is it gives me a whole different perspective on that whole like what is the transformation you're offering, what is the benefit of the transformation, rather than looking at it like let me sell you on this idea. It's more like let me show you why you're worth it, and it's just such a
Yes.
sweeter approach. I just genuinely appreciate that. Like it truly, I actually journaled about it this morning, like did some deep dive on myself about how do I see my buyer and what can I do differently, and all of that. So it was very inspirational. So thank you for putting that in there. I had never heard that either.
Yeah, and for those of you who maybe are old enough to remember, there was a very popular hair dye commercial. I think it was in the 90s. So Clairol and L'Oreal were the two competitors, and L'Oreal was much more expensive. But they didn't go on to their commercial saying, well, the L'Oreal hair dye is more expensive because we're sourcing these ingredients from these places. No, their tagline was from the model, look in the camera. I remember it was the Family Guy's mother, Meredith Baxter Birdie. It's because I'm worth it. So what they were selling, and remember I said that earlier, products, businesses are selling their message. Their message was get this because you, the customer, are worth it. You're worth it. So then nobody was thinking about price anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And you also stop thinking about all the reasons why your customer wouldn't want it. And it's not even about the price. It's like, I'm not ready, or I'm this, or all the fear. It totally transforms from fear into inspiration. That's just that one pivotal. Like, I think if we didn't talk about anything else and the listener just listened to that segment, it'd be so worth it. That's like the most important piece. I love it. I do. There's so much like I feel like we could have a 3-hour conversation just about the 100 pages I've read so far.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I really, really encourage everybody to get a copy. Okay,
Can I just offer your listeners a free gift? If you want to get
absolutely.
started on the book, you can get chapter one for free. Go to Schulman Art, SCHULMANART.com/believe. And I will send you chapter one for free so you can get started.
Perfect. And let's take a moment and really nurture the people who are thinking like they have that mindset of nobody's going to buy art. What would I do? How do I feel? I love the idea. I love the idea of making money doing something creative, but I'm not really sure that my idea will work. Can you give them just some inspiration or some fact telling? Maybe it's not even inspiring. Maybe it's just truth telling.
Okay, I'm gonna give you some truth telling
Okay.
because here's the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that our brains have evolved for survival, not goal achievement. So anytime that we're doing something that makes us uncomfortable and starting a business and starting a creative business, there's a lot of things that are going to make you feel uncomfortable. Your brain will feel fear. You may not perceive it on the conscious level as fear, but it's fear nonetheless. And when your brain feels uncomfortable, it can't tell the difference between leaving the cave and getting eaten by a tiger or starting a business. So what it'll do, and it's not just the big business, it's anything. Like you have a business already and Lindsay tells you, I don't know, try this social media campaign or do a webinar, whatever. If you feel uncomfortable, your brain's going to come up with all kinds of reasons why it's a terrible idea. and why that won't work for me because now that's your brain's way of keeping you safe, these stories. And notice I did not say excuses. It does not feel like an excuse to you. It feels real. And the smarter you are and the more creative you are, the better you are at coming up with these stories to talk yourself out of following your dreams.
True. Yep. We are very good negotiators, salespeople with ourselves, but not in a positive way, in a negative way. It's true. Justification. I was reading this the other day, just a reminder, like in sales, everybody buys because of emotion, but then they convince themselves with logic. And it's funny because with ourselves, we do the opposite. Like we use logic to talk ourselves out of the emotion. And maybe if we're just aware of that pattern of behavior, we could just look at it almost like objectively and say, oh, I see this as just my brain's way of coping with this. What if I just if we're going to play the what if game, what if it goes right? What if I can figure it out? What if things go good? What if I found the right person to give me the next step? What if I read Artpreneur and I had a roadmap that could help me launch this thing? That's what
I
I
would I would tell the listener who's thinking about starting a creative business or whatever it is that is giving you the what ifs, the what if parade, just spend as much time imagining the positive scenario, the positive outcome as you are catastrophizing. Because spend so much time in the catastrophe and at least balance it out with the positive.
hmm Okay, so we have about 10, 15 more minutes. I want to hear a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. So you already shared with us kind of like you made the decision to leave, you dug into your artwork, and you found the sales strategy that helped you. But let's talk about like what was it, the good, the bad, the ugly. Like what was it like for you? How long has it taken you to really start profiting from your business? What were moments of doubt that you had? I mean, just spill the beans. Tell us it all. Tell us it all.
Okay, all right. I can't remember off the top of my head the exact numbers. I think I did put it in the book, but it was like maybe 8,000 the first year, maybe 24,000 the second year. So it did take me a few years before I did get to 60,000 and then 100. And don't forget, this is 25 years ago. So, I mean, and that was purely selling my own artwork. So it did take me a few years. Your business, when you first create your business, it is a baby and your babies can't support you right away. So you have to nurture it. So I continued to, work on the side. I did have a little bit of money saved from when I quit my job. So that did help bridge the gap a little bit. Um, so yeah, that's how long it took me. But then around 2012, 2013, that is when I started teaching online art classes. And that came about because a customer on Etsy reached out to me and said, I love your art. Do you teach online art classes? And I had never heard of an online art class then, but that sounded like something I would like to do. So that's when I started that. And then 2018, I started the podcast. And that's when people say, hey, Miriam, can you show me how to build this type of business? And that's when I started coaching. So a lot of things, they're not so much pivots, but they were evolutions on my business journey that came about because there was a demand for it.
Indeed. I can see that for sure. Absolutely. So now what do you do majority of your time? Are you coaching the majority of your time? Are you still doing your artwork primarily, or how do you do it all?
Yeah, the majority of my time I am coaching artists, and I made the decision to do that in 2020 because so many artists were devastated during the pandemic. They were relying on strategies that didn't work, or were too dependent on in-person sales, but they hadn't been doing the things like building an email list to support them when they couldn't go in person again. So I
Yeah.
had already had a coaching business, but I was doing all the things in 2020. I was painting, online art classes and coaching. And that's when I decided to write the book and shift my focus solely into giving back and creating a legacy of my knowledge to help the next generation of artists also profit.
Yeah. Speaking of your knowledge, one of the things that you teach that surprised me in the art space, this actually surprised me, but it's totally on par with what I teach too, which is why I was like, wow, there's just so much synergy. Pick one thing. I love that you said that. Like, people who are I totally get it when you're super creative and multi-passionate. It's like I'm that way. Growing up, I wanted to do it all. I wanted to ride horses, do karate, take an art class, play the flute. Like I wanted to do everything. And I just couldn't imagine growing up and doing one thing for the rest of my life, which is why actually the car business was good for me because I got to travel and do all the different things within the car business, but that's a side story. The point was though, it's like, holy cow, I just thought that was so profound and so right. Listening to the way you describe it, it's like you're gonna be good at one, like, yeah, you could put your painting on rocks or backpacks or whatever, but that isn't going to necessarily, and I know I'm kind of bleeding into another strategy you talk about,
You
but
are. You're talking about prices.
yeah,
Okay, but let's focus on that one
yeah,
thing. So, and I see this in other businesses too, is and I this is let me tell you, I made the same mistake because remember I said, "Oh, I was doing all the things. I was selling my art and doing online classes and coaching." That's three different businesses.
yeah,
And you don't make more money running three businesses. You don't make more money running two businesses. We all think, oh, if I add an income stream, it's going to create more revenue. Not necessarily. So what I tell my clients, even ones who are artists, but maybe they want to do sculpture or they want to do pottery and paint. I was like, pick a mountain. You want to get to the top of the mountain. You're not going to get to the top of the mountain if you go up this trail and then you look over there. There's another trail. Maybe I'll try licensing. And now you go up this trail. Oh, look over there. Maybe I should try children's book illustration. And now you're going up. No, pick one mountain, pick one trail to get up that mountain. That's the only way you get to the top.
ugh,
And it's not so much the top in terms of like even money or bro market. We're not even talking about that. Just even in terms of mastery,
right,
you
right.
can't get to the top of the mountain if you're spread thin.
What do you tell people who are like, but then I feel like I'm limiting myself, I feel like I'm
You're,
thwarting my creativity. What do you say to that?
yeah, well, you can experiment as much as you want, and I encourage them to experiment as much as they want. But when it comes to building your business, and it comes to selling your art, only sell one collection at a time. So even like someone like Picasso, so yes, he did sculpture later, but he wasn't doing sculpture at the same time as he was doing other things. Like he had his blue period, he had his rose period, he had cubism. So he mastered one thing at a time before he moved on.
Gotcha. Yeah. Good description. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, so good. I love it, Miriam. I am so grateful. Thank you so much for reaching out and joining us here on the podcast. You guys, where's the best place? Where would you like to guide people who want to connect with you?
Well, if you like what I said today, you can find me at the Inspiration Place. It's for creative entrepreneurs of all sorts, not just artists with a capital A. So, if you like what you heard today, I invite you to find me wherever you're listening to Lindsay's podcast.
Awesome. You're so great. Thank you so much.